He changed the locks while I was at the pharmacy. No warning, no goodbye. Just a signed lease, with my name missing. How do you lose a home that was never legally yours, but always morally was? In a few minutes, you'll understand how a brother, a pen, and a moment of weakness rewrote my entire life. I wasn't old enough to forget, just invisible enough to be ignored. The documents were real, the signatures were mine, but not the story behind them. And when the system looked the other way, I picked up a notebook. This is what I wrote, and it's not what you think. Thank you for being here. Have you ever lost something that wasn't even yours on paper, but felt like it was part of your body? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more quiet, powerful stories like this one, subscribe. Say something under this video, even just one word. Where are you watching from, or what time is it? You can't live here anymore. I signed the lease to someone else. You were never on it. I blinked, thinking maybe I heard it wrong. But my brother just stood there in his Sunday jeans, and that smug little half-smile like this was just another errand on his list. He held out a key. "For the mailbox," he said. "I changed the main locks last week." He didn't say it like it was personal. He said it like it was paperwork. The hallway behind him still smelled like lemon oil and old books. Mom's books, my books, her house, my house. I didn't say a word, because if I opened my mouth, I might scream or sob or laugh, and all three would have proven his point. She's not stable. So I nodded, took the mailbox key like it was some kind of parting gift, my consolation prize. The couch where Mom died still sat under the window. A blanket I had knitted last winter was folded on the armrest. Troy walked me through the place like he was giving a tour, like I hadn't mopped this floor every Sunday, like I hadn't held Mom's hand right here while her breath slowed. He gestured at the empty dining table. "There's some of your stuff in a box," he said, like he was the one being generous. "You can grab it now." He turned away before I could answer. Already done with me. Done with the woman who'd changed his diapers, paid his bail, covered his share of the hospice bills. I stood in the doorway. 32 years, and now I didn't even have a chair to sit on. Later, I'd remember that moment in strange flashes, the way the light hit the mailbox, the loose tile near the front step, how Troy hummed to himself as he locked the door behind me. It didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like nothing, like I had been erased, quietly, efficiently. I sat in my car for hours, parked just down the street because I didn't know where else to go. There was a pink sticky note on my dashboard from the last time I babysat Troy's granddaughter. "Thanks, Nana. You're the best." I folded it into my wallet. That night, I slept in the driver's seat, my coat wrapped around me, a grocery bag full of mismatched socks on the passenger side. I didn't cry. Not yet. Where do you go when your whole life fits into 2 plastic bags? The answer, it turned out, was nowhere. I drove in circles that morning. Gas was low. My phone had 8% battery, and my stomach growled like it was trying to chew through the silence. I parked behind a CVS, half hidden between 2 dumpsters. No one would look for me there, or care. The plastic bags were from the dollar store. They stretched too much. One had a hole in it. I tied a sock through the rip to keep it from splitting open. Inside, a toothbrush with no cap. A framed photo of Mom from her church days, my blood pressure meds, the nightgown she wore the week she passed, my notebook still blank. It was all I had room for. Everything else, wedding china, baby albums, her Afghan quilts, the scrapbook I made when I was 10, gone. Or his now. I tried the shelter. Full. I tried Carla from Bible study. No answer. I tried the motel near 7th. $60. Cash only. So I did what I had to. I parked near the park, curled up in the back seat, pressed Mom's old robe against the window to block the light, and I started talking. To her, to myself, to no one. I paid the taxes on that house. I cleaned up after you when you lost control of your bowels and you still said I was your favorite. He didn't even ask if I had somewhere to go. By morning, I had a plan. Sort of. find food, call legal aid, don't cry in front of strangers. Later that afternoon, I wandered into the Dollar Tree. I needed toothpaste and maybe tape to keep the sock in place. At the register, I saw him, Troy, my brother. He was laughing with a young blonde, his new wife, I assumed. They were buying champagne and barbecue skewers. He didn't see me, or he did, and chose not to. I turned fast, left the store empty-handed. But before I reached the door, I grabbed a single item from the clearance bin, a black and white composition notebook. I figured, if they'd rewritten me out of my own life, I might as well start writing myself back in. He paid for champagne. I was paying for toilet paper. That receipt stayed in my coat pocket for days. I didn't throw it away, didn't even smooth it out. Wrinkled, stained, thin as tissue. I kept it because it was proof, not of a crime, but of a moment when my brother celebrated, and I was vanishing. $1.25, Colgate $1.25, paper towels $1.25, snack pack $1.25, notebook, my whole day, $5. His champagne alone was $19.99. I saw the bottle, gold foil top, imported. I remember thinking, they make champagne for people like him, people who rewrite history and walk away clean. That night, I opened the notebook. Page 1 was shaky. January 11th. First full day with nowhere to be. I made lists. What do I remember signing? When did Mom's will disappear? Did Troy have keys to the safe box? Who knew I lived there officially? Some of the questions I didn't want answers to, because if I hadn't lived there officially, then what was I? I scribbled so hard the pen tore the page. In the margins, I drew arrows, dates, half a quote from Mom. The truth is quieter than the lie, but it lasts longer. The next day, I took the notebook with me everywhere. Gas station, library, restroom line at the soup kitchen. I wasn't sure what I was building. A case? A journal? A record of how I vanished? Didn't matter. Writing made it real. And it made me less afraid to see the next thing coming. She asked me if I liked reading contracts. I said I never had to. She smiled like she knew better. She couldn't have been more than 24, wearing big tortoiseshell glasses and a purple hoodie that said, "Read the fine print." She was standing at the Route 11 bus stop with a laptop bag and a paper coffee cup. I was there for the bench. My feet were tired and the shelter was full again. "Legal studies?" I asked, pointing at her sweatshirt. She looked at me for a second, then nodded. Then she asked, "Do you like reading contracts?" I blinked. "Never had to," I said, half laughing. She smiled, not cruelly, but with that look of someone who has seen what happens to people who don't. Her name was Zara. She taught evening workshops, community law for non-lawyers, at the local library on Maple. "You don't have to sign up," she said. "You just show up. It's free." She handed me a small flyer from her bag. It was creased and a little damp, but I read every word like it might save my life. That evening, I stood in the library basement surrounded by metal chairs, bad coffee, and people like me. Tired, uncertain, trying to remember who we were before someone took something away. Zara wrote on the whiteboard, 3 documents that can ruin your life if you don't understand them. Power of attorney quitclaim. Deed healthcare directive. I sat upright. I knew those words. They were in Mom's file folder. On the pages Troy handed me when Mom first went into hospice. The ones he said were standard procedure. When I got back to the car that night, I tore through my bag. And there it was, folded in thirds, in a soft plastic sleeve, a quitclaim deed with my name, my signature. My brother's name listed as sole beneficiary, but I had no memory of signing it. I saw my signature, but I never signed that paper. I held the paper under the dome light in my car, hands trembling. There it was, my name, in my handwriting, on a document I had never seen before that night. Or had I? I squinted at the date, November 4th. That was the week after my gallbladder surgery. I had been on pain meds, foggy, barely upright. I remembered Troy coming over with a stack of updates for Mom's Medicaid file. He brought me ginger ale, said, "Just a few routine things, nothing binding." I signed, groggy, thinking it was about her. Turns out it was about me. I flipped to the back page. There it was. The clause Zara had circled on the board in red marker that night. This agreement is irrevocable and constitutes full release of claim to said property, present and future. I stared at the word. Irrevocable, untakebackable, unfixable, unbelievable. My hands went cold, not the shaking kind of cold, the deep kind that starts from inside your bones when you realize they planned this. Troy didn't just act in the moment. He waited, watched, waited until I was weak enough, tired enough, trusting enough to erase myself. I flipped my notebook open. Document, quitclaim deed. Date, Nov 4. Context, post-surgery. Painkillers. Status, possibly coerced signature. Then I added, find a way to make the irrevocable revocable. I slept in the car again, but this time I wasn't floating. I was sinking. And somehow, sinking felt better, because at least it was real. He was the first person who said, "You might have a case." His name was Micah. He wore a clip-on badge that said, "Volunteer Paralegal, Intake Support." His shirt was too big, his tie too short, and his voice was just quiet enough to make you lean in. I met him at the Thursday Legal Aid walk-in clinic. Most folks there were arguing about traffic tickets or landlord repairs. I sat in the corner, holding a Ziploc full of papers, sweaty palms, tight throat, but I waited. When it was finally my turn, I dumped everything onto the table like a kid with broken puzzle pieces. He didn't flinch. "Let's take a look," he said. He flipped through the quitclaim deed, my notebook, Mom's utility bill with my name on it from last spring, and a few pages I barely understood. When he got to the signature page, he slowed down. Then he looked up at me. "You might have a case." No one had said that to me before. Not, "You're right." Not, "This is wrong." Not even, "I'm sorry," just, "You might have a case." And for some reason, that was enough to keep breathing. Micah scribbled notes, made a photocopy of everything, and said he'd run it by someone upstairs. "Is it fraud?" I asked. He hesitated. "I'm not a lawyer," he said, careful now, "but I'd say it smells like fraud." Then he smiled, gently, almost sadly, and that's when I saw it. That same look Zara had given me, that look people wear when they already know how the story ends. I left the office lighter, almost hopeful, but hope, it turns out, can be just as blinding as grief. I never noticed what was missing until she gave it back to me. Her name was Velma, lived 3 houses down from Mom's, the kind of neighbor who wore house slippers outside and knew everyone's business whether they liked it or not. I used to avoid her. Too nosy, too chatty, too much perfume. But that morning, as I was parked on the curb with my notebook on my lap, Velma shuffled up and tapped the window. "You still got that brown mailbox on your porch?" she asked. I blinked. Not anymore. She didn't say a word, just handed me a flash drive, wrapped in a used tissue, of course. "What's this?" She sniffed. "Doorbell footage. From November. He was taking stuff from your box. Thought it was junk, but I saved it. Didn't sit right." I stared at the tiny plastic rectangle in my hand. "Wait, you're saying Troy was taking my mail?" Velma didn't flinch. "He opened it, read it, tossed half of it in my recycle bin. I kept a few pieces. You'll want to see." It took me 2 hours to find a library computer with a USB port. The footage wasn't dramatic. No ski masks, no crowbars. Just Troy, coming up the steps, opening the mailbox like it was his, pulling out a thick manila envelope, looking around, then stuffing it into his coat and walking off. Date, October 23rd. The same week the title company supposedly sent Mom's final estate packet. I found the recycling bin Velma mentioned, still sitting behind her shed. Inside, shredded envelope addressed to me, a letterhead from Benton Title and Trust, a partial form labeled Beneficiary Disbursement Schedule, and right at the bottom, my name, crossed out, in pen. I added a new page to my notebook. Stolen mail, federal offense, proof, video, envelope, neighbor witness. Check USPS fraud hotline. And then just beneath it, I wrote, he wasn't hiding what he stole. He was counting on me never looking. Your niece helped him. She told me you were gone for good. It was the nurse from Dr. Hallstrom's office, the one who'd prepped me for surgery last fall. I ran into her at the pharmacy, both of us reaching for the last bottle of ibuprofen. She recognized me instantly. I remember you, she said. Laparoscopic gallbladder, right? November? I nodded, surprised she remembered. Then her smile faded a little. Sorry. I thought you'd moved. Your niece said you'd gone out of state, that you weren't coming back. I blinked. My niece? You mean Troy's daughter, Jenna? She nodded. She was the one who signed the secondary caregiver form, said she was your health advocate, showed us a document. I felt my stomach drop, slow and heavy, like a stone in wet sand. Do you remember what the document looked like? She shrugged. Standard power of attorney language. Looked real enough. I sat in my car for an hour after that, staring at the dashboard. Jenna, little Jenna with the ballet shoes and glitter pens. She used to call me Auntie Jo, used to braid my hair while I read her books about Harriet Tubman and Amelia Earhart. Now she was forging my future. I pulled out the notebook. New page. Name, Jenna Rayner. Role, medical proxy, unauthorized? Said I'd moved out of state. Why? Use that lie to activate dormant POA? A pattern was forming. While I was recovering, they were replacing me. I called Zara that night. Her voice was calm, clipped, surgical. If she presented herself as your legal advocate without permission, you've got more than fraud. That's impersonation. My voice cracked. But she's family. There was silence on the line. Then Zara said gently, so was he. The will was signed, one day after Mom died. It was Micah, the paralegal, who called this time. I found something, he said, and it's odd. He had finally gotten a copy of the last will and testament filed with probate court. I drove straight to the clinic, no appointment, just adrenaline. He handed me a copy and pointed at the notarization line. Look at the date. November 12th. Mom passed on the 11th. Hospice confirmed it. Death certificate in hand. But the will? It was signed and notarized the next day. I read the name of the notary. Didn't recognize it. Witnesses? Troy. And Jenna, of course. I flipped through the rest. Everything left to Troy. The house, the savings, even the little blue car Mom never drove. I wasn't mentioned once. Not even a single sentence. Not a word like beloved daughter or caretaker. Just nothing. And yet, I had found the original draft, the one Mom asked me to type when her arthritis got bad. In it, she split everything equally. She left me the car because I took her to her appointments. She left Troy the tools. Even Jenna got Mom's pearls. So where did that version go? And who forged a dead woman's name? Micah leaned forward. If you can prove the will was created posthumously, it's not just invalid. It's a crime. Forgery, I asked. Worse, estate fraud. Criminal conspiracy. I stepped outside the clinic, the file pressed to my chest. The sky was gray. Not the stormy kind. The flat, empty kind. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt hollow. Back in the car, I opened my notebook and wrote, he didn't just steal from me, he stole from her memory. Then I ripped out the page, folded it, and burned it in a metal ashtray I kept in the back seat. Let the lie go first, I thought. The truth will wait its turn. You'll lose. You're not a lawyer. Not yet, I called Troy. I wanted to hear his voice, wanted to know how it would sound, now that I wasn't afraid of it. He answered like always, too casual, too sweet. Hey there, Joe. How's life on the open road? I didn't bite. I know about the will. Silence. I know it was dated after she died. I know the notary never existed. I have a copy. I have the original draft. I have the hospice records. I have footage of you stealing my mail. He breathed in sharply. Look, Joe. I cut him off. I filed a petition to invalidate the probate. You'll be served by Tuesday. That's when he said it. You'll lose. You're not a lawyer. And that's when I smiled. Not yet. I spent the next week in the back room of the library surrounded by 3-ring binders, highlighters, and microwaved coffee. Zara helped me prepare a motion. Micah guided me through the filing process. Velma. Bless her floral soul. Printed court forms for free at the community center. Each night I wrote in my notebook, Day 2, reviewed state fraud statute. Day 3, rewrote witness statement template. Day 4, practiced my opening line aloud, didn't stutter. Day 5, didn't cry when I said the word exploitation. That's a win. I wasn't sleeping well. Too many phrases swirling in my head like broken teeth. Constructive trust, undue influence, fiduciary breach, intent to defraud. But under it all was something new. Not just pain, not just anger. Resolve. When the court date arrived, I dressed in the only blouse I owned that still had all its buttons. I sat on the bus, holding a copy of the forged will like it was a loaded gun. And when the bailiff called my name, I stood, straight, still, ready. He told me, she won't understand anything anyway. The courtroom smelled like dust and old air conditioning, the kind of place where time didn't move, it settled. Troy sat 2 rows ahead in a charcoal blazer he definitely borrowed. His lawyer looked younger than Jenna. Speaking of, she wasn't there. Yet. The judge asked for opening statements. I stood up, hands steady on the table. Your Honor, this case is not about money. It's about erasure. My home was taken. My mother's wishes were falsified, and I was made invisible by my own family. The judge raised an eyebrow, nodded once. Then came witness time. I had called 2, Velma, with her camera footage, and someone else, someone who, until yesterday, hadn't returned a single one of my calls. The courtroom door opened. She walked in, hair pulled back, nervous, carrying a manila folder against her chest. Jenna. She didn't look at her father, didn't look at me either. The clerk swore her in. Troy leaned forward, whispering frantically to his lawyer, but it was too late. I was told to say Aunt Jo had moved, that she wasn't coming back, Jenna said softly. Told by who? Asked the judge. She looked at her father, then away. By him. She opened the folder and slid out a torn notebook page. My dad wrote notes. He said if we moved fast, she wouldn't even know she lost the house. He said she won't understand anything anyway. Jenna's voice shook. He said she was tired, done, easy to sideline. Then, almost whispering, I helped. I lied. I'm sorry. I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. I just watched Troy, and for the first time in this whole nightmare, he looked nervous. Do you want to make a final statement? No, I want to make a beginning. The judge tapped his pen once, then again. The room had gone quiet after Jenna's testimony, like someone had pulled the oxygen out. Troy's lawyer tried to object, tried to twist her words, discredit the note, challenge the timing. But the more he spoke, the less the room believed him. Even Troy stopped looking up. I was called back to the stand. The judge flipped through the file. Video stills, timeline printouts, my notebook pages, the forged will. You've put together quite the record, he said. I had to, I replied. No one else was going to remember the truth. He nodded slowly. Then he asked, Do you want to make a final statement? I shook my head. No, I said. I want to make a beginning. I stood tall, looked at Troy, at Jenna, at the 2 empty chairs where Mom would have sat if the world had gone right, and I said, They thought I wouldn't notice. That grief would keep me quiet. That poverty would keep me still. That age would make me small, but I watched my mother fight for her dignity till her last breath, so now I fight for mine. The judge leaned back, closed the file. Verdict to be issued in writing, he said. I thanked him, thanked the clerk, even nodded to Troy's lawyer. Then I walked out of that courtroom with a spine I hadn't felt in years. The court awards compensation. The property cannot be recovered. The letter came on a Thursday, cream envelope, thin typeface, the kind of mail that used to go missing from my box. But this one had my name on it, clear, undeniable. Joanne Rayner. Not occupant, not forwarded, just me. I opened it with my car keys, hand steady. The words blurred slightly, not from tears, but from the weight of reading something that mattered again. The court finds evidence of misconduct sufficient to warrant financial restitution. The will submitted is void. The court awards compensation for loss of equity, legal expenses, and emotional damages. Then, the property in question, having been sold to a third party, cannot be recovered. I sat back in the seat, let the paper fall to my lap. I wouldn't get the house back. I wouldn't see Mom's couch again. Wouldn't walk barefoot across her kitchen floor in the morning light. But I'd been seen, heard, named. And that was its own kind of homecoming. The check came a week later. Not enough to change my life, but enough to choose it again. I could have used it for rent, could have tried to find a place in the neighborhood that remembered me, but instead, I drove 2 hours north, found a lot with trees, bought a used trailer with soft lights and wide windows, painted the door red. That night, I sat in a folding chair outside my own door, notebook in hand, no longer writing the record of what was taken, but what I was building. He chewed my old sock. I called him Justice. He was the last pup left at the shelter, half beagle, half who knows what, with ears too big for his face and one lazy eye that gave him a permanent look of suspicion. The tag on the cage just said, "Dog found in dumpster behind Kroger, 11 weeks." I looked at him. He looked at me. He didn't bark, didn't wag, just stared like he was waiting for me to prove something. So I signed the papers. The volunteer asked if I had a name picked out. I said, yeah, Justice. Back at the trailer, he chewed through an old sock before I even finished unpacking his food bowl. I didn't stop him. Let him shred it. Let him tear into something worthless and dead and forgotten. Seemed fair. Every morning after that, we'd walk the edge of the lot, coffee in one hand, leash in the other. I'd watch him sniff the wind like it held answers I didn't know how to ask for. Sometimes I'd tell him the story, in pieces. That was the week I slept in the CVS lot. That was the day I saw my name crossed out. That was the night I won. He didn't care. He was a dog. But maybe that's why it helped. He never interrupted. He never doubted. He never asked me to explain how I'd let it all happen. He just sat beside me, warm, solid, breathing, like a punctuation mark at the end of a long, broken sentence. You're not homeless. You're between homes, like I was. Her name was Dana, mid-50s, purple hoodie, blank eyes. She arrived at the shelter just after sunset, dragging a suitcase with a broken wheel and a Target bag full of pill bottles. I was volunteering that week. Zara had connected me with the center. They needed help sorting linens and stories, mostly stories. Dana didn't speak at first. She just sat in the folding chair near the coffee table, staring at her own hands like they belonged to someone else. Finally, when everyone else had gone to bed, she asked, "Where do they put the women who don't bounce back?" I sat beside her, not too close, close enough. "They don't put us anywhere," I said. "We place ourselves, eventually." She looked up. "You ever been out there?" she asked, nodding toward the dark window. I smiled. "A couple winters ago, I was out there, in a car with 2 plastic bags and a sock full of quarters." She blinked. "You?" "Me." And then she said it. "I guess I'm homeless now." I shook my head. "No, you're not homeless. You're between homes." She looked at me like I'd handed her a coat made of light. "I used to be too," I added, "and before that, I was invisible." I gave her a blanket, the blue one from my mother's bed. Justice curled at our feet. Before lights out, I opened my notebook one last time, clean page, steady hand, and I wrote, "I lost my house, I lost my name, but I found my voice, and with it, I will name others until they remember who they are." If you're still here and this story spoke to you, consider subscribing to the channel so you won't miss the next one.